Hey, what's going on, guys? Welcome back to the channel. In this video, we're going to be basically kind of mimicking a specific feature of an awards winning site. Now, this is the site that we have. So, this is like a really crazy and amazing site by Nicola Miranda and Maria Sabella. So, the link to the site would be down in the description. So, you guys can check it out. It's really nice and clean, and I really liked it. So, I really want to build this specific feature. So first, let's go to the feature that it has. So this is the site they have, and yeah, this is the original site wherein, as you can see, we have the canvas here. Maybe they're using 3JS with these scroll interactions. So this looks really nice. And then here, as you can see, we have this um menu. On clicking, as you can see, we have a cool curved div kind of, which basically flows from top. And then when I close it, it basically goes away. And when we close it, the curve is inwards. And also we have this cool text reveal for the index, work, and about, and also for the right section menu as well. So when we close it, they hide themselves, and when we open, they reveal themselves from underneath. So this is the one that we have. So here, as you can see, when I click, we have the SVG flowing, and then let's click again. We have the SVG kind of curved inwards. So yeah, it looks pretty neat, pretty good, I'd say. And also we have the reveal effect for the nav items as well, index, work, and about, and also for these section as well. So yeah, we're going to be building that in this video. So the source code is in the description, so make sure to download that, play with it, use it wherever you want. There's that. So without delay, let's get started and let's learn how to build this. So this is the site that we kind of want to mimic, but we won't be going into the landing section because the major focus of this video would be on learning how to build the creative navigation that they have. So here we have this cool menu. So on clicking, you'd see that we kind of have like a curved div, which flows from top to bottom. And then there are these text, which basically, if you look at, they kind of reveal themselves from underneath. So this is pretty cool. And also we have some links here, which also reveal themselves from beneath. So this is really neat and clean. And one more thing that you should notice is when we open this, the div is kind of curved outwards. And then when we close it, the curve is inwards. So there's that. So there's a couple of things that we need to focus. So here, if you look at the one that I currently have, so this is how it looks. On clicking, we don't have anything working. So because of this, we need to add some HTML and also JavaScript. Here I have the CSS, and this is the index, and I also have the script tag open, and I've also linked GSAP from CDNJS. First things first, we're going to be adding the SVG for the curved, or basically the background of the menu. Now, instead of having an HTML element like div or so, we will be using an SVG since it's more easier for us to manipulate the SVG so that it has the curved outwards and also the inwards look when we open or close the menu. So what we're going to be doing is first, let's add here the menu. Now the menu would have a menu background, which is the SVG, and then the menu items. Now for the menu BG, would have this SVG, and for the items, we'd have two sections, one on the left, one on the right. The left one would have an anchor tag with span and also the text, which is inside of the H2. Let's paste the other as well. And then in the right would have just the anchor tag with spans with the text. Let's save, and if I were to show you my screen as of now, this is how it looks. So this is the SVG, and yeah, and as you can see, the menu is kind of scrunched as well. So there's that. So now we're gonna be adding some styling to this. First, let's target the menu BG, and then we'd want to have the position of the menu as fixed and inset to 0. Basically, take the entire width and height. And then initially we want the menu to be outside of the frame. So basically we don't want this to be shown. So we'd have a translate wide 200%. And then the Z index would be 20. And then we'd have the menu BG, which has the SVG. So this would have a width of 100% with display flex. And then the SVG would have width of 100 viewport width and height of 180 viewport height. And then we'd have it as display block, transform, and translate. So basically, initially, we don't want the menu as well to be shown. So we'd have it as translate Y to 100%. And then we'd have the anchor tags. So the anchor tag would have a basic text decoration to none, and then the color to this. And then the menu items would have Z index of 1000, so that when we have the animation going on and when the menu is active, would have the SVG. So we want these items to be on top of the SVG. So we have a way higher Z index. And then we want to add the position of absolute Z index. Okay, so basically I'm repeating here the Z index, which you don't really need to repeat. And then we're setting the inset to 0, basically take top, left, right, and bottom to 0. And then we're basically having everything at the center using display flex, justify corner center, and align items to center, and with a gap of 30%. Now to look at what we have, let's go back and let's see. So here, now nothing is visible. So to make it visible, let's remove these two lines for a second. Let's see. So yeah, this is how it looks now. So let's add these again. And now we want the menu items to have the custom font. Now basically I'm using two fonts. So one is custom font and another one is custom font 2. So when you download the source code, you'd obviously get the fonts as well. So yeah, let's save. And then let's move on to the next. So the left and the right menu would be display flex, and the flex direction would be column, and they would be center aligned. So we'd have justified content to center. And then both of them would have a height of 80% each, so that they kind of equal in size. Now the left one would have a gap between the items of 30 pixels. And then the anchor tags would be, since the left one has a span and also an H2, so we want them to be aligned well. So we'd have display flex, align items to flex end. And then would basically, now for the, if you look at the finished one, or basically the original site. So here, if I were to show you, you see that these are not aligned in a straight line. So the first one is aligned a bit different. The second one is again different. And then the third one is again shifted towards a bit more right. So we'd have the first one have a margin left of 50 pixels, second one minus 50, and then third would have a 30 pixels. Let's save. Now to see this, let's first remove these. Let's save. And let's go back to our site. And yeah, this is how it looks. All right. Now we're going to work on the font sizes as well. So the H2 inside of the left would have this font size and left spacing, and letter spacing, not left. And then the span inside of the menu items. Now these spans are also inside of the left anchor tags and also inside of the right anchor tags. So we target both of them, and we'd have the font style to normal, since they're italic in style, which I styled just so that I could have the kind of italic style in the landing page. So yeah. So after we have that, we'd also want to have some margin bottom and margin right. And let's save. And then we're going to target the right. We're going to have the gap of 10 pixels for the anchor tags. And then each anchor tag would have this font size. The font family would be custom font 2. And then we want to just display flex. And then the first style would have the margin top of 50 pixels. And the second one would have a margin bottom of 200 pixels, but then we'd also want to push it downwards, so we'd have margin top of auto. Let's save and let's see. So to see that, we need to remove these again. Let's remove. All right. Yeah, looks better. Okay, now it's time to add some JavaScript. So we're gonna come here. First, inside of the script tag, we're gonna need to do a couple of things. First, let's grab the menu btn, which is the hamburger class. So we can just come and target the hamburger, since we want to open this menu when we click on the hamburger. So there's that. The menu items has two parts, the left and the right. So we're going to grab the left and right, and we're going to be storing that in an object, and the variable name would be menu items. After that is done, we're going to set the is menu open to false, since initially when the page loads, we won't have the menu open. And then we're going to have two specific paths for SVG. Now remember, when I showed you the demo, or basically when I even explained you the site, so when we open the page, if you look at the finished site as well, initially when this opens, you'd see that the background is basically curved outwards, and then when it closes, it basically gets curved inward. So there's two specific SVG that we want to use. So there's going to be two specific paths for the SVG. So the first one would be this, and then the second one would be this. So basically we're storing it in open and close. And then we're going to add an event listener. So we're going to listen for a click on the hamburger div, which is basically the btn. And then we're going to fire off this arrow function. Now what this would do is, first, basically whenever we click on the button, we basically want to toggle the state of the menu. So if this is not open, we're going to set it to open. And if this is open, we want to set it to not open, basically true and false. Now, if we want to check first if the menu is open or not. If this is not open, then we want to do something else. So if this is not open, we want the menu to be open. So we're going to target the menu. So we're going to use GSAP.to, just so that we could have the final state animation for the menu. We're going to target the menu div, and we want to set the y to 0. Since remember, when I wrote the CSS, I basically initially I added the translate to -200%. But when we set it open, we want this menu to fill in the page. And after the menu is filled up, we'd also want to animate the SVG as well. So we don't want this translate to -100%. We'd have the translate y to 0 as well for the SVG. So we have the menu done. Now we target the SVG. Same, the SVG would be just -100 pixels. And then the duration of the menu SVG would be 1 second. There's going to be an ease effect, and yeah, the path. So we want to add the path animation to that as well. So I'm going to set the attribute, and here we want the paths to be what we have from the paths open. So we just add that. We'd add a duration as well, an ease effect, and let's save and let's see. So let's come here. All right. So now if I were to click on this button, you'd see that it opens up. Nice. Looks good. Now when we close it, we want the SVG to go away. So there's that. But for that, first we need the SVG path. So here for the attributes, we want to set the path of the closed one. So we'd have paths.close. The duration would be 0.8 seconds this time, and then the delay would be 0.3, since we want to have some delay for the paths when they go away, basically. So we'd have that, and then we have the ease in effect as well. And then we target the SVG. Now, after the path animate, we also want to move the SVG away. So we would have the SVG as -100%. Then the duration would be 1 second, the delay of 0.3, power 1 in, And then also we want to have the menu go away. So we target the menu y to negative 200% as we have in the initial state. So basically the final state or the closing animation would kind of make the menu and also the SVG kind of similar to how they were initially. Now the next thing that we want to do is let's add a delayed animation, or basically a delayed class to this. Now on clicking, we don't see this here. So we want to add basically an extra class just so that we can see it. So here, whenever we open the menu, we want to have a delayed call, which basically does some action with a bit of delay. So here we basically add the time. So we want this delayed thing or the delayed function to get called after 0.5 seconds. And then what this is going to do is this going to add a class list, or this is going to add a class to the menu btn. So instead of just hamburger, we'd have it hamburger menu on, just so that we could have some different styling. Let's save. And if I were to show you, let's open this up. Now, as you can see, we have it. Looks good. Let's do it here as well. Add a delay call. When this goes away, we want to remove the menu. So there's that. All right. Nice. Okay. So we have these done. Now, the next thing that we want to do is, as you can see, we have the text popping up first, and then we have all the different effects. So we also need to have some animation or the review effects for the text as well. So for that, first let's go to the CSS. And here, if you look at the anchor tags, so for the reveal effect, we basically want to give the text a bit of height. So initially they would be out of the frame, and then when we want them to animate, they would basically come from beneath, and it would seem as if they're getting revealed from the bottom. So we'd have a certain height. So here, for the left anchor tags, we'd have a height of 180 pixels, and we'd set the overflow to hidden. And then for the right anchor tags as well, we'd have the height of 40 pixels and overflow to hidden. And then what we want to do is, for the left H2 and span, what we're gonna do is we're gonna be pushing them out of the frame or out of the container. So we're gonna target the H2 and have them translate Y to 100%. And then since this is 180 pixels, so the span need to be translated a bit more their uh, original position, which is 100%. So they'd mostly be needing around like 200% or so. So we'd add the translate Y for the spans as 200%. Same, we're going to be pushing the text content out of the anchor tags of the right side. So we're going to target the spans inside of the anchor tag of the right side, and we want to push them out of the frame by giving translate Y to negative 200 pixels. Let's save. Now, when we open and close, we don't really see anything. So yeah, let's add the animation for the text. So to add the animation for the text, let's build a helper class. So here we have animate menu items, which basically take in items, their Y value, the duration, the base delay, and then the ease effect. So we want to target items, and whichever items get passed in, we want to just loop through each of the items with their item and index, and then wherein we have the span and H2. Now this is just an array of elements we want to animate in each menu items. In our menu, some items have both a span and an H2, while others only have span. So then what we do is we basically map. So here it goes through each individual span and H2, and then what it does, it basically runs a query selector on them. And then it basically selects each individual item. Now, after the item is selected, we cleverly add this filter boolean part. Now, what this does, it automatically removes any element that doesn't exist. What it means is that some menu item don't have an h2 tag. So this line of code would make it sure that it doesn't throw any errors if the element doesn't have an h2. Now, after we have this, we're going to have the elements. We're going to loop through each of the element with the index. And then we have GSAP.to. Basically, we want to animate. And I'm going to check for each element. And we want to shift the Y value, the duration, delay. Now the delay would have the base delay. And then also we're going to kind of have a bit of staggered effect. So we'd have index times 0.1. So initially the first one won't have any index. So I mean the first one would have the index of 0. So basically the delay would be the base delay. And then for the subsequent ones, it would have 0.1, 0.2, so on and so forth. And then also we want to have an element delay. So we're going to check for each element, and then we're going to multiply that with 0.1 so that each individual element as well has a bit of its own delay as well. So there's that. And then also we're going to add the ease that we pass in here in the function. So yeah, we're good to go with this. So let's add this in the click events. So basically, if this menu is not open, we want to animate the menu items. We want to target the menu left. We're going to have the Y value to 0. The duration would be 0.7. The base delay would be 0.6. And then we'd have this ease effect. Now, when we want to close it, we'd have now again after that would have the right side as well. I totally forgot about that. So we're going to target the menu items on the right. The items would be 0. I mean, the Y value would be 0. The duration would be 0.5. The base delay would be this. And then this is the ease effect. Let's add here when this closes. So if this closes, we target the menu left. We add this. Now here, as you can see, we have the same initial effect of 200%. Let's add for the menu right as well. Let's save and let's see. Now when we click, we have this smooth effect. When we click again, it closes. And yeah, looks pretty neat. Now I think there's still one big error that I made in the CSS. And I think, yeah. So when this loads initially, you see the right side content kind of appears from top, which we don't really want. So what we want to do is, I think I added a negative 200 here. All right, yeah, let's that. So yeah, there's that. So yeah, hope you like the video. The source code is in the description. So you're going to be getting the entire source code of the project, which include these as well. So you might want to add some effects to the text here as well, some review animations. And yeah, that's it for this video. Hope this was helpful. Meet you guys in the next video. Till then, bye bye. Take care.